A new ABC News Washington Post poll shows it is a virtual dead heat between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. We want to bring in pollster Ed Goeas right now, who's worked on Governor Scott Walker's presidential campaign, as well as Mitt Romney's. Also with us, Democratic strategist Richard Goodstein. Good to see you both, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Maria.
Good to see you,
All right,
Maria.
let's get the expectations on the table. Ed, kick us off here. What are your thoughts going into tonight?
Well, if you look at the average of all the polls, which is what we track, right now Hillary's taken a little bit of a jump in the last couple of days. She's running about 2.3% ahead. I think the key thing for the debates is that both of these candidates, as we've talked about before, have very baked-in numbers on their unfavorables. So there's two things to watch. One is that if you look at those reluctant voters for both these candidates, Hillary's running about 29% of her vote reluctantly voting for her. Trump's at 36%. Do you see movement with those voters? The other is there about 20% of the electorate dislikes both these candidates. Right now, they're both getting about 20% of that vote. The lion's share is going to the third-party candidates. Is there any movement amongst that group in terms of probably not moving their favorables or unfavorables, but certainly moving up their ballot there, because it's very important for the down-ballot Republicans that are doing very well with that group of voters?
Well, the stakes could not be higher, Richard. A third of voters say that the debates will factor into who they choose in November. That's according to a new Wall Street Journal NBC News poll. What are your expectations?
Well, again, I defer to Ed. He's a professional pollster. I just kind of come on TV, and I'm happy to talk about it. I appreciate it. I would look at one thing that did come out in a recent poll, which is that Hillary's supporters, when asked, are they voting for her or against Trump, it was about 50 for her, 40-some, low 40s, because they were opposed to Trump. Trump's voters were actually the opposite. About 40, low 40s were because they were in favor of him, and a much higher number were because they were opposed to Hillary. So, and between that and the fact that the third-party candidates do seem to be, if they broke off those third parties, disproportionately favoring Hillary over Trump, I think she's got a little bit more upside, assuming she can kind of make an affirmative case for herself. And as we all know, Romney was down 5. He went up 1 after his first debate with Obama, and we saw ultimately that really didn't kind of stand up. So there might be some temporary movement. I think that would be the thing to watch.
So I'm really curious, if you were to advise Donald Trump going to debates tonight, what would you ask him, or what would you tell him to do?
Well, I think there's two things. One is that her negatives are driven by the politics of her past. The more you can focus on the politics of the past, the better for him. The problem he has is his negatives are driven by his persona. And so it needs to be done in such a way that he is not overly aggressive, overly in your face. His persona at this point, for those voters that are negative, that you do need to get some of those voters, is like a boxer with a glass jaw leading with his chin. If he comes out leading with his persona, he needs to be specific, precise, firm, but not so in your face that the negatives of his persona works against him.